Your competitor just left your prospect's office and you're up next. How do you differentiate yourself from the guy that just left and not sound biased or not sound snarky or negative? How do you differentiate yourself from that guy when your products are similar? Are you really that different? Right after this, you're going to learn what to do. Stay tuned. Hi, Christine Harrington here, the Savvy Sales Lady, your personal YouTube sales coach, helping you be savvy at selling so you can earn more and help more people. So the question is, how can you differentiate yourself without being biased? First, sit down with a piece of paper and pencil, and I want you to outline all of your company's processes. Outline what happens before, during, and after the sale. Start with you as the sales professional, then your implementation team, and then your back room. What does your backroom support look like for the new client? Are you really different from the competitor? List those areas that your processes and your backroom are different, and then list how you're better and get into the details. This isn't about your product versus the competition's product. This is about how your processes and your back room is different and better. Here's a key point. You don't care if your product is different or better. That's right. Don't care about the product. Now here are 4 tips. Tip number 1 is context first. How do you answer the question from the prospect when he asks, how are you different from XYZ competitor? Your first instinct may be to launch into all the negatives of that competitor compared to you and your company. But don't do that. Take a breath and instead put it in a little context for the prospect. Tell the prospect you're happy to answer the question, but there's some risk around you answering it because you don't want to sound negative or biased. And that's not your intent. Your intent is to show Mr. Prospect how you can solve his problem. And you can say, Mr. Prospect, let me answer it this way. I'd like to show you how I'd approach your problem, and then it's up to you to decide what's best for you. This comment will help balance your answer so you don't come across as some negative Nelly. Tip number 2, you're competing with the prospect's problem, not with the competitor. Now, it can very well be that your product is very similar to the competitor and there's not much difference in the two. This presents a real problem for you to sell against a competitor because you don't want it to come down to price. And the last thing you want is a price war, only focusing on the price of the product, right? So how can you be different? Redirect the prospect on how you can best solve his problem. Tip 3, ask better questions. I keep saying this. Okay, now you know chances are you're not the first sales rep that stepped in front of this prospect. So you know he has been hit with a gazillion questions, and typically they're the same old questions. That's why you've got to do your research and ask questions that'll make him think and will elicit a response from him like, gee, I never thought about that before, or you're the first person to ask me that. When you get those type of responses, you know you're on the right track. So don't wing it with questions. You can completely differentiate yourself just by the questions that you ask. And you'll be judged more about the questions you ask than the answers that you give. Big tip. Here's the one question you can ask that will reveal so much. When the prospect asks you a question, answer it, but follow up with this probing question. Mr. Prospect, why did you ask that question? Or, Mr. Prospect, the question you just asked me, is that important to you and how? There's a variety of ways you can ask that questions in different ways, but be careful with that because you don't want to repeat it too often during the conversation. Number 4, let your testimonials do the talking for you. There's nothing more powerful than loyal customers singing your praises, especially those that you won from the competitor you're competing against. Now here's a takeaway. Don't fall into the trap of good or bad. My company does this good, the competitor does this bad. Don't fall into that trap. You can't assume that everything you offer is good, and you can't assume that everything the competitor does is bad. Really, it's just all about you're different and your company does it a different way. That's really what you want to focus on. So remember, you're not competing against a competitor. You're competing on how to solve the prospect's problem. This aligns you with the prospect as a partner and differentiates you from the rest of the sales rookies. It takes the competitor completely out of the picture. Now, I hope this video has brought value to you, and if it has, would you mind sharing it with a few of your friends? And if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I want to invite you to hit that subscribe button. But more importantly, remember, sales is a journey. It's not a quick trip around the block. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.